maybe not. Mm-hmm. And the fact is that Nashville hasn't beaten Carolina this year, right? So I don't, this next game is so important for Nashville, right? To stay focused and play another good game tomorrow night against a goalie that's playing well, right? Elvis Merzlikins, that's the thing that, has you worried, right? Merzlikins gives you a chance because he's played 6 or 7 really good games in a row now for Columbus. But you want to go grab those 2 and then take a little bit of heat off of the 2 games against Carolina. But the fact is, 2 out of 3 for Nashville, regardless of what Dallas does. If you win 2 more, that's it. You're in.
Yeah, there's no reason to be worried. I don't know why to use the word worried. I mean,
come on.
Really? Dude.
You know me better than that.
Come on. Scared is
until
no way
that
to
thing
go.
Says X next to the Predator's name.
I am
be
never
worried.
going to endorse your worried comments when I sit there and preach to my 9-year-olds about get out of your own head, believe in yourself, have confidence. There's no way I'm going to sit here and endorse that's what worries me. No. Just keep doing what you're doing and take care of business.
Right. Well, that's what if they do that, I like their chances, right? It's you just don't want to have any lack of focus thinking that the job's already done before it's done. That's the only thing that you've got to do. If you do that, they'll be all right. And I think we all had that worry. It's like, oh, wait, did they take the foot off the gas? It was kind of a snowball. You got to give Bemstrom credit for a couple of those shots. Like, one of them was kind of miraculous. Ryan Ellis bats it in, right? That's one of the goals. Then the second goal is a perfect shot into the upper corner. And then the third one's a pretty darn good shot, too. Did Nashville get a little too tight? And remember what happened in Chicago when they lost the lead? They completely got discombobulated, right? They were all over the place, and they gave up the middle of the ice. That was, I thought, kind of a breakdown. Last night was a different kind of breakdown in that I think they got a little too tight defensively. They went back to protect the middle, and they didn't push forward enough and do the things that got them the lead. So it's sort of different kind of ways to give up the lead. But last night, instead of giving up those just golden chances in front, it was actually a guy making a couple of great plays and a guy that hadn't scored a goal the whole year. Like, what was going on with that? But give him credit.
Well, I'm going to go on and fall on the sword. I don't have to tell this story, but I don't care. I mean, it's just the truth. I told Elijah after we did second period intermission, and we were just kind of wrapping things up on our end. After we had gone to the break, I told him, I was like, yeah, don't worry. This is good. I was like, this is where a team like Columbus, they don't want to work this hard. I mean, Predators are making them work. They're like, yeah, no, let's just on to the next game. I was like, nah, don't worry about it. Third period's fine. Columbus doesn't want to work. Now, they gave it their 40 minutes, and the Predators are making them work too hard. Their season is over. Don't worry about it. I did. I literally said that to him, and then I told him when we started postgame, I said, I'll never say that to you again.
Because that's the second time this year that's happened.
I have. Yeah, guess what the other time was? I've done it twice. So this is on me, and I get it. I should put myself on the list on Friday, and that's fine. Maybe I will. Can you name the other game I did it with Elijah?
Would it be Chicago?
Yeah, I've done it twice.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. We got a problem. We got issues.
But I think the point of that is that it's a natural feeling to have. It's human nature, right? It even if you fight, that's why coaches fight it so much. That's why coaches won't let you not think about these kind of things. It's because it's just a natural reaction. You're like, man, you got this one, right? You just kicked their butt in the second period. They've got nothing to play for. They're going to go away. They're going to shut it down. And it didn't happen. And maybe there was just a little bit of exhale, and it's 3-0. You start the third period on the power play. Everything's going fine. Then all of a sudden one goes in, and the energy changed a little bit. Columbus was like, no, well, maybe we got a shot here.
Well, especially early on. They did it less than 2 minutes in.
Right. And it was kind of oh, wow, that went in, right? Like at first, you're like, oh, okay, that was close, but still okay. It's still 3-0. And then you're like, wait a minute. It's all of a sudden 3-1.
So the next time I do that, Elijah, I start with a 3-goal lead going into the third, and I start to say, go down that road, go, ah!
I'm
Time
cutting
out.
your mic.
Stop
Cutting
talking
it right there.
Stop talking.
Yeah, stop talking.
Yeah.
Just tell me. It's enough. We've done this. We've been there, done this. It's a bad formula. It doesn't work. I felt bad too. I was like, why did I do that?
But if you're
I
doing
I felt
it,
that
if you're
way.
doing it, you know that you're not alone, right? Don't you think that it's just a natural thing? That's why a competitor and a coach has to say, fight that, and I'm sure they said it, right? You're telling me that in the locker room they would say, hey, we got this, guys. Like, I'm sure they said all the right things, but it's just human nature that you have to fight. I don't think they did a bad job, honestly. I didn't feel like they lost control of the game like they did in Chicago. In Chicago, I thought, man, they have lost control, and they're going to lose this thing in regulation. I was impressed that they recovered to get to overtime in that one. Last night, I kept thinking, okay, they're still somewhat in control of this game, even though they're not really pushing forward and they're not pressing like they are when they're really on. But I thought, okay, they're still okay. They're still okay. So it was a little different feeling for me. And I thought Bemstrom just made a couple, you don't score from that spot twice in that period of time very often. But he did. So sometimes it just goes in. It's like the other thing we discussed after that Chicago game is, we have such a high standard for UC Saros. You're so surprised when he gives up a goal. You're like, what? Wow. How did he give up a goal? But sometimes it just goes in, right? He is human. Somewhere in there, you're going to give up a goal here and there.
I got to use it as a teaching moment this morning. Maddox was like, Columbus pushed it to overtime? I said, yep. You know why? He said, why? I go, because they didn't give up.
Right.
They didn't give up. They kept fighting to the end. You heard that before? Yes, you have. Keep fighting to the end. They didn't give up. They didn't put their head down. We suck. We can't win this. No, they kept fighting, and that's what you have to do. So it at least gave me a teaching moment, even though, I don't really I was like, I can't believe that really happened, because I didn't believe, obviously, it was going to happen, or I wouldn't have said it. But at least I got to turn it into a teaching moment this morning to say, that's because Columbus didn't give up, okay? They didn't put their head down, start sulking, and start, we can't beat them. No, they fought to the end. And you know what? They pushed it to overtime. They lost, but they fought all the way to the end. That's what you have to do in sports. So, all right, we'll come back. Kayla Anderson, News 2. We're going to get into a variety of things with her. She came from the Columbus market. Aaron Portzline put out an interesting article yesterday in The Athletic.
What a great article that was. Yeah.
Right, and that was yesterday morning about just the market in Columbus and the difficulties and the challenges that have faced them. They had to trade away Pierre-Luc Dubois, just trying to get guys to commit long-term to that market. So it's pretty interesting. She knows the lay of the land. They've got some pretty big names, Willie, that are looking for new contracts. I believe one, Seth Jones, he's right. He's got
after next year.
Right,
they've got him for one more year, but
right.
they've got to figure something out. This is the summer that will be the talk.
Right, that's what I'm getting
They're
at.
gonna have the talk.
And is it who's the other? Is it Werenski? Who's the other one?
Werenski is restricted, but
Okay,
he's
he
got to
is
have the talk
restricted.
too. But Jones is unrestricted after one more year, so
there's a real issue. And by the way,
Yeah.
is it Tortorella? Is that part of it? The players don't want to play for him? Is that what it? So we're going to get into all that and more with her on the other side here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Keep listening to the show today before we get out of here at 2 o'clock. I'm going to give you a keyword for you to text in to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com for a chance for you to win a T-Mobile Hockey Home Gate giveaway, which is a Dos Equis prize pack, including a case of beer, dessert from Nothing Bundt Cakes, a T-Mobile prize pack, and food provided by 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. You must be 21 years of age or older to enter. Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic here with you, and we say hello and good morning to Kayla Anderson from News 2. She now joins us on our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kayla, how you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you on this May 4th?
Yeah. Willie, is any significance to May 4th for you?
Well,
Mr.,
I am a Star Wars fan.
You
so-
are a huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
More so than you are,
So
Dan.
is Corey Curtis.
Yeah, I will say save May 5th for me, Kayla. That's a little bit
Me
more my
too.
style. Yeah.
Me too. Give me the margaritas. Let's go.
Hello. Yep. Sign me up. I'm with you.
There's no rule against celebrating both, if that's
No,
what
you're
floats
right.
your boat.
There isn't.
Yeah.
But if we're choosing, you can have the 4th. Corey can have the 4th. Kayla and I will have the 5th. How about that?
We'll have the 5th. I love it.
Let's start with we were just talking about this at the end of last segment. Aaron Portzline, who does a great job of covering the Blue Jackets for The Athletic. He put out a pretty interesting article yesterday. Former Blue Jackets on what's wrong with Columbus. If you're going to try to sign free agents, you need to overpay. That was the headline to the article. And, of course, it starts off talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois, who, wanted out. And we knew we were talking about it right at the beginning of the season when the Predators were playing the Blue Jackets and how awkward it was and where was this going, where we know where it was going. He got traded to Winnipeg because he didn't want to be there. They let Panarin go. Duchesne was gone. Bobrovsky's gone. I mean, they've had some huge names that are playing elsewhere because there seems to be in fact, there was a quote in there, nobody wants to play in Columbus. You were in that market. You came from that market before coming here. And I know we've talked about Columbus before with you, but what did you make of what Portzline put out there yesterday?
I found it extremely interesting, and I give him a lot of credit for doing the work, right? For reaching out to these players and just saying, hey, let me pick your brain. You don't have to put your name out there, obviously, but I just am trying to figure out what's happening here. So I give him a lot of credit for doing the work. Love Portsy. But I found it interesting for the sheer fact that when you read through some of these comments from the players, it's not maybe exactly what you expect when you see the headline of the article, right? Because you're thinking, okay, all these players are going to completely rip on Columbus. They're going to rip on John Tortorella, Jarmo Kekalainen. But the more and more you read about it, it was almost like it's hard for people just to get, like, familiar with Columbus. They don't know anything about Columbus. These players hear Columbus, maybe are there for a couple nights, and they don't really know what the city's about, what it has to offer, and the comfort of living there. And so when you read through some of these articles, you start to see through the quotes that some of these players actually said they liked Columbus once they got there. It was a good place to live. The people are great. The fans are great. But the problem is for a lot of these younger players, and you can look at a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois, Josh Anderson, these guys want to be in a city that has a little bit more appeal, right? It's more appealing to the younger players. And Columbus it just doesn't have that reputation. And partly because I just think it's misunderstood as a city. Because I'll tell you from my personal experience, when I moved from Arizona and had the opportunity to go to Columbus, I'll be the first to say the only thing that I knew was there was the Blue Jackets and Ohio State football.
Sure.
And I didn't know anything else about Columbus, not the city, not, what's around it, what the people were like. And then once I got there, and I was there for 3 years, I was like, whoa, this place is a great place to, if you want to raise a family, or if you're just a young professional and, you want stuff to do, there's a lot there. It might not be for everybody, but I think that a lot of the players that are there that have been there and experienced it, maybe a little bit older, they realize it is a good place to be. But it's hard to get people to that point, to get them to go there because there's just not a lot out there about Columbus.
It's interesting that you said it's not appealing to the younger, because you would think a massive college like Ohio State. In fact, I think they have the largest of attendance of any college in the country. I believe they got more students than anybody else. You would think it would be vibrant with young people. I'm surprised that you're saying it's not appealing to young people.
I think it's just because of just what surrounds Columbus in terms of the reputation out there. There's not really a bad reputation, or there's not really a good reputation. It's just kind of there, right? There's not enough out there about Columbus, and maybe that's their fault. Maybe they don't do enough to advertise the city to younger people, because there's a lot there. There's the university right outside the district. There's this place called Short North. It's just miles and miles of bars and restaurants. The whole downtown now has the ballpark, the new soccer stadium going in there, and the arena. So everything is there, and that's not even saying what's outside of it in the suburbs, which there's a lot of cool little cities in the suburbs. So I'm not saying it's not appealing for younger people. I just think maybe younger people get the wrong, idea of what Columbus is.
Interesting. Seth Jones, after next season, is going to be a UFA. He will be an unrestricted free agent. Aaron Portzline talks about that in the article. He also talked about the other defensemen. Zach Werenski. They've got two. That's a 1-2 punch that, you could stack up against anybody in the league as the best. He's set to be an RFA, so he will be a restricted free agent. With this being out there, the uncertainty of what's going to happen with their head coaching situation after this season is over. Where do you think all this is going? And I know, where it's going is Columbus won't be in the Predators division next year. So, I don't know how big of a deal it is. It's kind of interesting for us now because they've been in the division. But ultimately, where do you think that's going long term? Do you think they could keep both of those guys there?
I think they need to try. Look, you've listed all the players that have departed ways with Columbus, and also, may I mention their captain is gone now, Nick Foligno, which, in my opinion, held a lot of that team together, and just is beloved in that city. And so now you've got two faces. These are the two faces of the Blue Jackets right now, in terms of how long they've been there. They're two players that are loved there in Columbus, and I know it's going to be hard, but you've got to try to keep those guys there, because if you get rid of everybody you've gotten rid of, there's a question mark if John Tortorella is even going to be back. I feel like he should be, but then again, it's the National Hockey League, and we know where it goes now with coaches and how short they live in their cities before they're moving on. But these are just two names that I feel like they got to do everything they can to keep them. But here's the thing, also in the article that Portzline wrote, Jarmo Kekalainen is like a tough negotiator, right? He is not someone who's going to overpay, and some of these players have even talked about it. And so I don't know what they're going to do. They've had a past of getting rid of a lot of their good players and then just having to rebuild again. And sometimes that's okay to get younger guys in there, but you've got to have your core guys. You've got to have some of those veterans there that you can continue to build off of.
I know we're going to probably toggle back and forth. Willie will probably hit you with some more hockey stuff, but I do want to ask you about the Rashad Weaver situation. It was interesting how the layers went from our show, the first half of the show. You got Teron Davenport on and Dan Shanka from Our Lads, and it's praising that pick, right? Getting him in the fourth round, praising that pick. And, wow, what a great pick in the fourth round. Dan Shanka said, we had him going in the second round. That was a fantastic job. And then the second half of the show, the story comes out, and everything changes. I think the problem, or the one part, and there's several layers to this, but the problem, the line that really got me, and now this is just in the police report, is apparently Weaver's talking to other officers on the scene and said he had no problem hitting a female if they needed it.
Right.
I can't get past. I'm sorry, I can't get past that. I know I would never say something like that, even if I had nothing to do with this, right? Even if I didn't do anything, like, you don't say that. Like, why would you say that unless Is there something we need to know? Like who makes that comment? Unless, is there something we need to know? So that troubled me a lot.
It is. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, first of all, you can't hit. I mean, you don't need to be getting and assaulting and getting into fights with anyone. But I mean, at the same time, you then insert that it's a female, and then you go on and say that you don't have a problem hitting a female. I mean, that is where you just are so confused, right? Because you look at all this stuff leading up to the draft and decisions that were made by the Titans last year, and then all the pressure put on them this year to make the right decisions. And now, you're questioning, okay, how much knowledge did they have prior to making this pick? They say they didn't know about it. There's other teams saying that they did know about it. There's a lot out there right now, guys. It's like he said, she said. What do we believe? But when you're looking at this report and seeing that this is what he has allegedly done, what he said, it's hard to get past that. And now the Titans have a really big decision to make. I mean, I'm sure that they'll do their investigating of the situation, but this court date's not till October.
I know.
So there's
1st
a
of
lot
October.
of stuff that can happen, right? I know. It's just, and the timing of it is just, it's a messy situation that the Titans, again, find themselves in.
And then his attorney now has come out and just vehemently denied anything, completely false, and these allegations are reckless. And you expect that from his attorney, but once again, it's like, no, wait a minute, you can't really come out and say this is completely false and reckless if in the police report you've got your client saying that about females. Like, hey, yeah, I don't have a problem hitting females if they need it. I mean, but this is reckless. This is completely false. Like, how ridiculous. No, what's ridiculous is that your client made those comments. Now, I don't have a clue what happened. But here's the thing. With everything that's happened with the Isaiah Wilson situation from last year, when this happened, this came out the day before they drafted him. This came out on Friday, this police report. But this was an incident stemming from a couple of weeks prior. So what do you make? I mean, do you think that they did their due diligence at Pittsburgh and they talked to the right people? I mean, do we know is there a pattern with this? Is there something they missed? Has he had stuff like this before? I mean, that's where he starts getting into some weird stuff.
Well, and that's what I just cannot figure out with the Titans. Is this just like bad luck with them running into these situations where they say, like, we're doing all the things leading up to the draft and trying to find out as much as we can about these, prospects, and then it just turning into a big thing of bad luck? Or is it that they're missing things? Is it that they're not doing everything they can to find out about these players and their past? And look, we're dealing with a new generation of younger people, right? I mean, there's so much more at their fingertips, and it's easier to find out about things. There's social media, so you would think that you're going to see these things ahead of time. And because this incident happened before the draft, and I know that it didn't come out until what was that Friday, right?
It came out. It happened on the 17th/18th, but then the report did not come out until Friday, which they took him on Saturday.
And I think that's kind of crazy too. That whole timeline of like when it actually came out. So there's just a lot of holes in this story, and that need to be filled and need to be explained. But the Titans are saying, we've done everything we can. You heard John Robinson before the draft saying we learned a lot from the Isaiah situation. We feel like, we have a better opportunity this year. We're more used to the virtual settings to get to know these guys and get to do our due diligence of searching and finding everything about them that we can, that we feel good about this draft, about knowing who we're getting in players. Well, then this happens, and it's like, it's fair for us to question, right? It's fair for us to say, but did they do their homework? Did they do everything they could? Because now this happens, and it's like, how did you miss this?
And I would think that would be a natural reaction in the Titan circles, is to say, hey, how did we miss this, right? Even if they did, I take them at their word that they weren't aware of this. I think it's probably plausible that maybe they knew there was an incident, but they had no idea the severity of it. So I know there's a lot of different things it could have been, but I do think it's good to look yourselves in the mirror and go back through on your systems. And, of course, Kayla, as we know, this is not a normal season in terms of how you prepare, right? There's not as much access.
Right.
Probably not as easy to find these things out as it once was.
No, and it still isn't, because like you said, we're still not normal in terms of all the in-person stuff. I know a majority of the work that they did, guys, in terms of meeting these players was at the Senior Bowl. So that was just kind of like a one-time thing. It's not like they went specifically to every player and got to check them out or got to go to their pro days. They had to pick and choose all of that stuff. And then a lot of the rest of it was all just virtual. And there's so much you can always just get out of a virtual meeting. You can't always get everything you want out of that. And I don't know, maybe you do look yourself in the mirror again and say, okay, is there things that we need to change moving forward in terms of, the departments, the people that are looking into all of these things? Because clearly there's been back-to-back years now that there's players that have question marks. And this still has to play out. But this is just not a good start, guys. When we want to be talking about the Titans moving forward, what these draft picks are going to do in terms of on-the-field play, and then this is the first thing that we're talking about out of the gates, this is bad. This isn't good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for sure. Kayla Anderson is with us from News 2. And, Kayla, I had to laugh because – and one thing, if everybody knows Kayla, you know that she is watching the games. She's watching along with all of you. She tweeted out – I'm a huge Mets fan, Kayla, as you probably know. So I was watching the Sunday night game, and I saw your tweet after the fact that Reese Hoskins has just tied it up. And if I had had my phone with me, I would have tweeted it the same way. I just walked out of the room in disgust. I probably would have said something about Edwin Diaz. But it was such a crazy story on Sunday night where you walk out, you're sure it's a home run, and you walk back into the room, and wait a minute, it's not a home run. It's like they got a second chance. And so the Mets won in strange fashion there, but I had to chuckle on that one because I'm sure you weren't the only one that tweeted. There were probably like hundreds of thousands of people that tweeted the same exact thing because I thought the same thing.
It was such a good game too. I was working Sunday night. We have our show, so we work late, and I had the game on. And Willie, I'm not a Mets or a Phillies fan, but what I am is I'm a Francisco Lindor fan and a Didi Gregorius fan. Uh-huh. So I've covered both those guys in my career and have followed them their whole careers. And so it was really intriguing for me to watch that game and then, to see what you thought was the home run, and it was just a back-and-forth battle, and then they take it away, and Hoskins is all mad. But isn't that the type of baseball we love to see? And that if more people watched baseball, they would be intrigued by that type of a game. Wow, this is actually fun to watch, because a lot of people just poo-poo baseball and say, oh, it's boring to watch. Some games are, but that's the stuff we love, right? That's what makes the game great.
Can you tell somebody or get somebody to talk to Francisco Lindor? We got a little problem here. Darren, I'm sure, is laughing because he is a huge Indians fan, but I've never seen Lindor struggle like this. I mean, the Mets, by the way, fired their hitting coach. We were just talking, Darren, about Chili Davis yesterday.
I laughed out loud
and they let him
when
go.
I saw that last night. I was like,
unfortunately,
oh my
that's
gosh.
always what teams do is fire the hitting coach.
Willie, I didn't even
fault.
know he was – I brought Chili Davis up yesterday. For some reason, we were talking about Chili, and I said, when I think of Chili, I think of Chili Davis. I didn't even know he was the Mets hitting coach. And he got fired yesterday.
Well, when you got a superstar that comes to the Mets and then has been in the drought that he is in, sometimes you got to go somewhere and try to pull the trigger somewhere. I'm not saying that was the case at all. I think more so than anything, guys, when you're a superstar player like that and you get to a new environment, you get to a new organization, you're now in New York. You're not in Cleveland anymore. And I'm not saying anything against Cleveland because I am a fan of the team, and I covered that team for a while, and I love the Cleveland Indians and the fans there. But New York is a whole different ballgame, and you got a lot more of a spotlight on you. I think he needs to go back to being, hey, I'm Frankie. This is who I am. I'm going to play the game like I've always played it and not be in his head so much that he's in a new place getting a lot of money. Get back to who you are. And then everything will work itself out because he's a superstar in this league. I think it's good that he is in New York just for the fact that maybe MLB will put the spotlight on him as being one of the faces of baseball. But he needs to just play his game and not worry about putting so much pressure on himself.
Well, I hope he comes around soon. So, Kayla, one more before we let you go on the Predators. It's just from your perspective, when you guys are putting together your newscasts each night and your Sunday night show, I mean, you've seen a pretty interesting story here. Like, we all love a good sports story. This is one I think we've all come to realize that, it's pretty remarkable what they've done over the last couple of months.
Yeah, it is really something that's been exciting to follow. If you are a hockey fan, and if you're not a hockey fan, I encourage you to, really learn about this team and what they've done up until this point, because at one point of the season, we were saying, oh my goodness, it's going to be a sale at the deadline. Everything's going to be blown up. They go on that long road trip, and it's amazing, right, how sometimes, sports is just like life. You do things where you're kind of put out of your comfort zone. You have to get to know each other a little bit better, and sometimes you figure it out. And that seems to be where everything started for this team in terms of turning it around, and that's from several players you guys we've heard interviews from. But just for the fact that they have done this with all the injuries consistently, it's not like we've had a break from injuries. This team has had injuries throughout the entire season to keep players on top of it. But Roman Josi said it last night that these younger guys that have come up and inserted themselves and right away taken to John Hines' system and put the pressure on these other players to step up their game, that's been a game changer in itself. And I think that that's just awesome to see that, sports is like this sometimes. You have to overcome adversity, but sometimes you can make the best of it, which the Predators have done. And then just UC Saros. He has been absolutely phenomenal. I heard you guys talk about it yesterday. In my eyes, yes, he is definitely in the mix for the Vezina talk. I mean, what he has done in the second half of the season is unlike any other goalie right now. He has done so much to put this team back in the playoff hunt. And it's just so exciting to watch them night in and night out. This team is hard to play against.
All right, Kayla, I can't let you leave on that. I'm going to leave you with one more that's probably going to make you squirm, because it makes all of us squirm talking about it, but we have to talk about it. So I'm going to ask you just your opinion. None of us know, but just your gut feeling as the Predators wrap up. They've got 3 games left in the regular season, and then we'll see how all this plays out. I think everybody feels pretty good that they're in control and that there's going to be more hockey after these 3 games. But I ask you this question. What do you think Pekka is going to do in the offseason? Do you think he comes back, or do you think he says, it's been a great career, it's been an unbelievable ride, this is it?
I've gone back and forth with this. And I think as much as we as media people, because we just love and respect Pekka, and the fans just love Pekka, I think that Pekka has had time this season to kind of soak in, the reality of where he is at in his career. And I'm not saying that Pekka can't come in and play a great game. I mean, we've seen it. He's still good. He still has, enough to be, in games and compete in games. But I think for him, he's reflected on this season and thought, okay, I've got a family now. I am the backup here. I could probably come back and be the backup here, but is that really what I want at this point in my career? I'm in my late 30s. Nothing against that, because I am too. But I think he might have taken the time this season to really collect his thoughts and say, you know what, I'm going to retire as a Predator this year after this season, and I'm going to be okay with that. So that's where I'm going.
Okay. Well done. Thank you so much. I appreciate the visit. That was good stuff, and it's going to be fun to see how this all plays out. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I'm excited, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
That is Kayla Anderson, News 2. Check out her work there. She does a great job, and we're going to discuss that on the other side. Willie felt really strongly one way last week. Does he feel the same? And this is something that makes everybody uncomfortable, but we have to discuss it because it's a reality. We don't want it to come and go and us not discuss it, because that could happen. We don't know, but we'll do that to close out hour number 1. That's next on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game. The Sound season begins tonight. Yes, minor league baseball is back after taking the season off last year. And ESPN 94.9, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans and 312 Pizza, is going to be a part of all that. You can hear their season opener on the road in Toledo against the Mud Hens. Pregame at 5:20 with Jeff Hem. He will join us a little bit later in the program. First pitch at 5:35. So check that out tonight as the Nashville Sounds begin another season of baseball. We are so excited about that. Back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, Darren McFarland and Willie Daunic here with you. David Poyle coming up at 11:15, our weekly chat with him, Predators general manager. So you heard me ask that to Kayla at the end. And, I had Adam Vingan on from The Athletic Saturday at the arena in pregame, and we were talking about this. And, people were tweeting at me going, oh, this is making me so sad driving in or listening. Pekka's been look, we all know. Like, we don't need to keep saying this every time we bring this up. Like, we all can agree, everybody listening, unless you have never spent 1 second around him and you just don't have any idea. Like, he's going to go down. I've told this to his face, Willie, at Centennial. Years ago, he's going to go down as the most popular Predator ever. Okay, and I don't know. It's going to be a long time before anybody can come down that road and probably unseat him as the most popular Predator ever. Okay, so we all get that. It's not easy to talk about this because he is so beloved, rightfully so. Great player, even better human being, right? He is as good as it gets. But the reality is, as we've talked about, Father Time is ticking. And this is when you start talking about this, especially at the goalie position. When you start getting close to that big 4-0, there's very few that have gone into that territory. Now, you felt pretty strongly last week that he's okay, because I said, with you feeling that strongly, you are telling me you feel strongly that he's accepted the role as the backup and he's okay with that, and he's okay with that moving forward. And maybe that is the case. I hope it's the case. That's great. But there also may be a point where this offseason he says, I've been a starter. It's just hard sitting there watching night in and night out. This is my new role. I've been there, done it. There's really nothing else to prove. Yes, he would love to get a Stanley Cup. We know that. But he's won all the awards. He's had an unbelievable career. He's starting a family. He's got a newborn at home. And anybody who's ever been in that position, it changes your life. It changes your life forever. Willie, the two of us can talk on that. It changes your life forever, and it's going to change his forever. It already has, and it's going to be changing his life moving forward. So he can wake up and say, you know what? I love it. I love this game. I appreciate everything I've done, but it's time for the next chapter in my life. That could be a reality. So as we sit here today, and with that being said, if the Predators were able to clinch, if the Predators were able to wrap things up before Game 56, is there a chance that for sure that they just throw Pekka out there and let him start? Maybe Game 56 is Pekka Rinne, and there's no way to avoid it. That conversation will be, is this the last time we're ever going to see Pekka Rinne in a Predators uniform?
It's a great story, right? We love stories like this. This is why we love sports. It's tell me a story. And the story of this season has been pretty special to this point. So the first part of the story is it's got to get to that scenario on Monday night, right? Because that's when it would be. Now, in theory, it could happen by Saturday, right? It could. But so first things first, all right? But let's take your hypothetical. I don't know that they have talked about the future yet. I think they have basically said, and, David Poyle is coming on with us at 11:15, and he may have said, we have not had that discussion yet. I have just gotten the vibe, not to throw that term around lightly, because we know that that word has become a thing, right? And like, for example, Robbie and Rexroad, they asked Chris Mason about it. And Chris said, I'm getting emotional talking about this because just the thought that this could be it brings a lot of emotions, right? Because Pekka has captured our hearts, right? Yep. We're not ashamed to say it.
No.
Right? And you're dead on. This team's been around for a generation now. There's been a lot of really popular players, but he is far and away the most beloved. Right? It's not even close.
And by the way, when I said that to his face at Centennial, you were sitting there. Him being the person. He doesn't know. He's like embarrassed.
He doesn't know what to
it.
say.
He
Yeah.
doesn't know what to
Shucks,
say. Right?
He doesn't. Yeah, but
He's
that's why we love
uncomfortable
him,
with
right?
that. I know.
That's what it is about him. So this is just I just I know him more. I know him better than some. Right? I don't know. I mean, I'm not in his inner circle at all. I just get the feeling that he has settled into this role. He's accepted his role. That is the feedback you get from all of the players and the coaches, is how much they admire how he has adapted in his role and still sets the example for the team every day.
But why would you be surprised by that? I mean, if we're going to sit here praise him for all,
but as you said, there are some great
of course
players over the years. We've used examples before of they just can't do that, right?
Yeah,
if they're
no
not in there every day, every game,
it just doesn't work.
It's time to move on,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
To either to another team or just stop playing because it's just not the same. But I feel like he's settled into that. So that's the first part. I also think he still wants to play. And, okay, let's look at his numbers. He's 9-12-1, 902 save percentage, 297 goals against. Now, is that great? No, but he had a lot of the starts when the team was really struggling, right? Saros was hurt for a section of those games. Saros was struggling himself for some of those games. And Pekka had to play a lot of games. I think Pekka's numbers would be better. They wouldn't be Saros level probably at his age, but I think Pekka's numbers would look better if he played more games in front of this group. And if you look, his last 3 to 5 starts as the teams turned it around, Pekka has played very well. So I think he can still play. I think if you look at backups, we talk about backup quarterbacks all the time. To me, Pekka Rinne would be a great backup next year, even though he'll be a year older. So I think he still wants to play. That's just an impression I get. I don't know that. And I think there will be a strong consideration from the team to want him back if he wants to do that, rather than go out and find somebody from the outside to come in. So I just think there will be a pathway for him to come back. But I don't know that they've gone there with the discussions yet. But something that could like you said, Darren, this has kind of crept up on us, right? I think we've all assumed that it's going to go down to the last day, and it still might. But if there is that day of, hey, it's time to rest UC Saros and it's time to get Pekka Rinne in there for a game, it's kind of just jumped out at me, right?
Well, you have to think that, right?
So I wonder if that would spark a conversation. I don't know.
I don't think there's any doubt.
Because Pekka will be asked about it, right?
I would be disappointed.
The coaches will be asked about it. David Poyle will be asked about it. So
with the uncertainty, I would be disappointed. If they wrap things up and he didn't finish it out, I would be disappointed because unless they know something we don't know, unless they know something we don't know. Unless behind the scenes everything is all wrapped up and they know he's coming back as the backup and everything is just quietly sealed and they'll announce it a little bit later, then that's one thing. But I don't believe that to be the case. Look, I've been pretty steadfast in when people would call in or tweet at us or come, say stuff about, Predators trading him. I've been very quick to say he's not going anywhere. He's never going to wear another uniform. Okay, and that will never change, and it's not going to change because it's not going to happen. I also don't believe this is performance-based. This has nothing to do with whether he's a good enough backup or whether he's completely lost it and hit a wall and he can't do it anymore. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with the Predators waking up after the season is over and David Poyle saying, we just have to go in a different direction, because that's not going to happen either. This is going to be his choice, in my opinion. And this is just solely based on, I think there are factors he's going to have to heavily weigh. Is he doing and saying all the right things as the backup? Of course he is. You can't sit there and say he's the greatest guy ever and then say he's not handling this very well and he's being a jerk behind the scenes. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Of course he's handling it well. He's handling it like a pro, like the pro that he is. Okay, I would expect nothing more out of him, that he's doing and saying and acting exactly how you should act in this position and being a great teammate about it. But it doesn't mean privately he exactly feels that way. He's not going to do it publicly or around anyone, I think, but he can have honest conversations privately and say, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to be the backup? Is this how I want this to play out? And the other part is, like I said, the kid part. The family is a big deal. Look, you know this. We've talked to enough players, and you know this because you experience it. This season is long. It's a grind. Okay, you're away a lot. Okay, and he's done this for how long now? Basically, his entire adult life, right? He's gone a lot. And so now he's got a baby at home, and when you start pushing 40, he's made his money, he's set for life, he's good. Like everything is good. And then he could take some time off, watch his kid grow up, and then he could take his time figuring out what the next chapter is. I'm just saying that has to be in play. I hope you're right. I hope he does say, you know what, I'm cool with this. Sure, I'll do another season as the backup. I still got at least another year in me. I'm good. I'm fine with that. I hope that is the case.
Well,
I also know that he can in a private setting when the season is all done, he can go, okay, now let's seriously talk about this. Not in a public setting, just privately to the people I care about. Do I want to do this another year? And I think that's going to be a real conversation. And I don't know how he's going to choose, but I'm saying the R word could be in play. It absolutely could be in play. And I would assess the odds right now today. A chicken blank answer is like 50-50. That's where I think it is right now. I think it's truly 50-50, whether he comes back or whether he hangs it up.
I will give you some different numbers. I think at the start of the season, it was 70-30 that he would retire. And I think now it's 30-70. I think it's flipped. That's my thought.
Okay.
And I think how he feels today might not be the way he feels in a few weeks or a few months, right? I think that's another thing. And so to be fair, I think maybe the best way to decide if the ball is in his court, this is assuming that the Predators want him back. And I think that's part of it is if he couldn't play, then there would be the awkward thing of, hey, I want to come back, but I'm not sure the team wants me back. I feel like the team is going to give him an avenue to come back. Of course, there's the price, right? There's the business part of it. They got to agree on that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that might be the last thing they have to discuss. But if it's in Pekka's court, he might be smart to wait till the season's over, let the dust settle a little bit, and then decide, do I really want to do this again? But it's my maybe I'm just doing this with my heart, but I just feel like the vibe I've gotten from him is I'm not sure I'm done. I'm having a good time here.
Well, when you say the vibe, since we're not around them, how do you get that vibe? Just are you talking about it? Interviews
that I've heard him do, yes, and and just his demeanor after he plays, after every game, he's having fun. And he's had some key wins, right? The March 15th is the date that most of us circle as the day that the season really started to turn around. That was in Tampa. That was him. He played a great game that day. The Sunday night game in Chicago, the back-to-back wins when Saros suddenly was out for a game, Pekka won that game. He played really well. So he has begun to thrive as the backup that doesn't get to play much. That's not easy it's not an easy adjustment for goalies. But I think now he has seen that he can do it. And so I think, he is qualified for the job as a guy who could play 20 to 35 games, I think, at age 39. I think it's not too much to ask of him. I think he would accept that role.
Come back.
I could be dead wrong. Those are just my thoughts.
Hour number 2 next.
This hour of Darren, Daunic, and Chase brought to you by Train. Get a great deal this spring on a new Train heating and cooling system. At Train, they test so it runs. Visit traininfo.com to find your local dealer and learn more. It's hard to stop a train.
Second hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on this Tuesday morning. Be aware of the weather today. We may get some more bad weather a little bit later today, maybe the afternoons or evenings or both. Who knows? Pretty heavy rain this morning, a lot of storms this morning. I saw where some areas north of town were damaged. What are they going to do with Tom Wilson? What is the league going to do?
Boy.
Honestly, what are they going to do? By the way, the Capitals should also get their hand slapped. Pretty stupid tweet by the organization. After that, they're getting beat up over that as well.
Well, it's never ceased to fascinate me how a hit or a play in hockey can be viewed so differently through two different prisms, right? Or really three different prisms. There are the fans of one team, the fans of the other team, and then the ones that don't really have a stake in the game, right, that have their own interpretation. And that's really where things kind of unfold. But for people that didn't see it, Tom Wilson, who is notorious for playing on the edge and beyond the edge, had another moment last night. Now, if you ask the Capitals, and this is kind of where the tweet comes from, it's like, oh, just a scrum.
Yeah.
It's a scrum after the whistle in front of the net happens. And if you ask the Rangers, it's like there was a crime committed, right? And I don't think that's the worst I've ever seen from Tom Wilson. I've seen worse, right? But the fact is, it's always him.
He's got his own folder in the league office for sure.
It's a binder. It's not a folder, right? It's a 3-ring thick binder that. Does anybody still use those? Not very many people use those as much.
But I got the reference.
But it's
okay.
there's too much in there for a folder to hold, right?
Yeah,
it's got to be a binder.
Oh, if it is, it's one of those folders that's got so much in that it won't close. Right? It's just basically hanging open because you've got too much in it. And so, yeah, he is no stranger to this stuff. And I'm just wondering. I mean, the league has suspended him and suspended him and suspended him and suspended him. Clearly, it's not going to change him at all. Look, I love the edge. I mean, you know this. I love edge. I love 40 grit sandpaper guys. I love guys.
Well, what have we admired about this Predators team?
Absolutely,
is that they're playing with a little more fire and
no
edginess
question.
and physicality and some intimidation, right?
But I
That's
will
part of the
say
game.
there is a certain line. There's two players that come to mind. Their lines are very, very blurred, and I've just never understood because they're both tremendous players, Wilson and Marchand, right? Two really, really good players in the league, but their lines are really, really blurred, and I don't understand why they can't pull them. I'm not asking them to change their approach. Obviously they need that edge. That's that's how they play. But their edge goes too far, Marchand, licking and all the stuff that he's done, all the nonsense he's done over the years, all the stuff and the nonsense Wilson has done over the years. I think they've gone too far, and I don't understand why, because they're tremendous. If that's all they were fourth-line guys doing that stuff, then you would say, it's freaking, I thought those old school guys weren't in the game anymore, right? But they're not fourth-line guys. They're top-line guys. So I don't understand why they don't have the ability to pull it back a bit. And it's very clear neither one of them are ever going to change. This is who they are, and this is how they will play until they're done, because nothing affects them. The suspensions, the hand slaps, the people beating them up, social media-wise, fan-wise, on the road, whatever is said to them, it doesn't bother them. Clearly they're not changing. And I just what do you do if you're the league with a guy like Tom Wilson who's that talented? What do you do to him? You've tried.
I feel like there's some sort of separate line, like a bat phone or something, to George Peros in the league, and when that rings, he just has to roll his eyes going, oh no, it's Wilson again.
Right.
Get the binder out, get the
Is
video
Washington
out.
Playing? Oh crap!
Here we go
tonight.
again.
Yep.
But part of it, I don't know. It's like they've dished out a lot of suspensions. He doesn't seem to get the message. And the thing is, this isn't the worst that he's done. So it's like, what do you do with a suspension when it's not the worst thing he's ever done, but yet he is just such a repeat offender. Is not even in the
No.
It's not the right way to describe Wilson.
No.
It's just a constant
He's just
thing.
an offender. That's what he is.
I view the tactics of Wilson a little different than Marchand because, Marchand's not as big a guy. Like Wilson is a guy that's physically capable
Right,
of just
he's a huge
injuring
guy.
people, right? And
Yes.
he's a man-child. And that's what makes him a really effective player when he's playing hockey. And he intimidates. But, that one last night, I think the problem that people are going to have is he grabbed the guy by the hair, Panarin. Panarin's not even close to the size of Wilson, and he slammed him down. He didn't have a helmet on, right? And it didn't even start with Panarin. Panarin was trying to come to the defense because the play starts with a scrum where Wilson takes a punch at a guy that's down on the ice after there's a big pile in front of the net. He takes a shot, Busnevich, and that gets everybody all riled up. And then once you get riled up with Tom Wilson, you're taking a chance because then you got to defend yourself. And unfortunately, you see what happened. So I'm interested. I don't know. I like I told you every time, Darren, I am through trying to figure out what the heck the safety department, how they do what they do.
Yeah, I think we've both kind of given up on that a long time ago.
So we'll just have to wait and see.
Let's go to our phone line.
It's a thing.
Yep. Let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Nate is there. What's up?
This crap won't stop until they get that goon out of the quote unquote Department of Player Safety. It's ridiculous that this guy can just keep throwing guys around like rag dolls and only get fined $5,000. I don't get it because players that don't have a history get suspended for a couple games, but players that do and the league just loves them and they just get fined. I thought the league wanted to actually protect their star players like Panarin, but apparently they don't.
What would you do? I mean, what would be your penalty?
Literally, I understand he's a good player, but he is beyond the line. That's putting it lightly. I would kick him out of the league.
You would kick him out of the league. You would tell Tom Wilson, you're done. You're out of the league.
He obviously doesn't get it.
And what do you think the feedback would be if that was your decision to kick him out of the league? How do you think the next month, 2 months would go for you as the commissioner?
I mean, obviously the Capitals fans would be upset, but I mean,
slightly, yes.
I think the other league would, or the other side of the league would actually be all right with it.
Okay.
So he has not been suspended. Is that pretty much what they said?
I've just seen a fine.
Only been fined.
I think it's just a fine. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I see what Nate is saying. I get it, but I mean, can you imagine also? Like you're kicking out a superstar, right? In a big market, the Capitals, and you're kicking him out of the league. Like you're saying, then you're opening up a whole new avenue. It's like people are going to compare. Like, oh, so you can kick Wilson out of the league, and this guy just gets right. Then you're opening up a whole another Pandora's box. And when does it end? That would be obviously pretty mind blowing if they did something. Usually, they set the example to fourth line guys, right? Guys that are fringe players. You don't do that to superstars. That's typically how it works in sports. All right, let's bring in Predators general manager David Poile, who's on the line with us. David, we were talking yesterday about the Vezina Trophy and how the voting works. Whether sometimes the media votes for some of these awards, and in this case, the Vezina is voted by the general managers. And one, we were just talking about, I don't think we've ever brought this up with you. How did that all come about where you guys vote for the Vezina Trophy winner?
Well, you're correct, and I actually don't know the answer, even though I've been around ever since that's been voted on by the managers. I guess they just wanted to have spread it around a little bit from media. There's been different reasons around thoughts about the voting over the years, and whether it's there's too many people, say in Canada, that have votes versus the USA or what have you. And I think specifically in this year, this is going to be really hard because we've only played games in our own division.
Right.
So I know as a general manager, I haven't been out to scout any games, watching games on TV. I always gravitate more to watching the games in my own division than other divisions. So you could see that could be kind of hard to this year. But basically, we don't vote until after the second round of the playoffs. So that's also part of the criteria. So it's certainly, you would say that the body of work goes all the way through the regular season and at least partially through the playoffs. So it's certainly putting the premium on success for goaltenders that have good playoffs.
I don't think you're alone in gravitating more towards the Central Division. We've admitted we've done the same thing where in the past, you watched a lot more, but we've admitted on this show that we're doing kind of the same thing. Like we're kind of watching, we're paying very, very close attention to all the teams in the Central and not as much to the rest of the league. And we're also trying to figure out, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I'll at least toss it your way and see. You answered how you want. Is it a good thing or not a good thing that the media is not voting for the Vezina? Does that help UC Saros or does that hurt UC Saros?
I don't know how to answer that. I think, obviously, I speak up for my fraternity that the managers are very capable in that area. But I think the media is as well. So just the problem is, again, as I repeat this year, that you got people in Los Angeles or in Vancouver, for example, that have not seen UC Saros play in person for sure, and how much have they followed other teams and specifically goaltenders out of their division. So I like the fact that managers are voting on it, but I think that you could make an argument that the same result could be there with the media or with the GMs.
Do you feel like the way UC Saros has played in particular the last couple of months, he should be a finalist for the Vezina?
I certainly do. I think there's no question in my mind that we have two of the top goaltenders this year in our division. The other one being in Tampa Bay, Vasilevsky, who won the Vezina last year, and certainly backed that up by a fantastic performance in the playoffs. And he's been nothing short of great again this year. He leads almost all of the key categories in goaltending. So, but as we've seen in this second half of the season from our team, and certainly led by the spectacular goaltending of UC Saros, I'm very confident that he will be in the finals. I mean, we need to make the playoffs. I think that's certainly a situation that, as close as it is, I still think we need to make the playoffs to get into that grouping, and hopefully we'll get that done real soon here.
Do you feel, David, that Pekka has accepted his role as a backup? Do you feel like he's okay with being the backup? This is different territory for him.
Another hard question. I don't think any competitive person, can truly, accept a lesser role. I think Pekka has been fantastic, and the relationship that he and Juice have is really great for them, and especially for us when you get into a competitive situation like that. But I mean, it has to be hard on Pekka not playing more games. We all thought that there would be more of an even balance this year, with the condensed schedule and a lot of back-to-back games, and it just hasn't worked out that way, especially with Juice getting so hot. But I think he's okay with it. But I haven't had any conversations with him about the future or what have you. But again, I have to believe he would want to play. And again, I'm a guy that says that things change so fast in this business, you never know. I mean, if you look back, Juice got hurt earlier in the year, and Pekka played 8 or 9 games in a row, which was not contemplated either. So you just never know in this business. But not a great situation for Pekka, but he's been terrific around the team and very supportive of Juice, and he's certainly the most positive guy that we have on our team.
Do you feel like that is a subject that you'll have to tackle with him and his agent whenever the season concludes?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, we talked before the season about this being his last year contractually, and and we talked about, Juice getting more games. We talked about, sharing the net, and then, but you never know type of conversation who might get to play more games. So we've gone through all that. But purposely I haven't approached Pekka. I never thought it was the appropriate thing to do. And I think we'll have time at the end of the year to see exactly what, how all this plays out. But, we've got 3 more regular season games and hopefully some playoff games. And like I've said for the second time here, you just never know how this might play out. So I'm glad that we have Pekka available, and if he deserves to get a chance or we need Pekka, I'm sure that he will come through for us as he always has.
You had tough decisions to make at the trade deadline on what to do, and we talked about it every single Tuesday with you, as you know, on what your mindset was, what you were thinking leading up to that deadline. We all know how it played out. How do you feel sitting here today, looking at how this team has responded since the trading deadline, where there were no departures, there was just one addition, and just the way they've played since then, and putting themselves so close to capturing a playoff spot?
Well, I hope I've been consistent with what I said every Tuesday, and I just felt that with all of the changes that we made in our roster, and especially some of these younger guys that are going to be a big part of our future, that it was worth it to see how they would compete in this, what I would call our last 20 games, which became our playoffs. And again, I'm happy with the decision because hopefully again we'll make the playoffs. But we've got Carrier in our lineup, along with Fabro's getting close to coming back to play. So we've got a couple of young defensemen that we've worked into our lineup. The Trennan, Janot, the third line, Joel Ole, Eli Tolvanen playing pretty well in a regular basis. Luke Cunningham coming back off an injury. The start with the Predators wasn't perfect, and then he got injured. Now he's come back and played really well for us. So, I think we found like 5 or 6 players that we didn't necessarily know where they fit in at the beginning of this year. So, as I said before, I'm happy with the decision. I certainly hope we make the playoffs, and I look forward to some of these players making a more and a bigger contribution next year in the future. And that's something that I think we can count on now that we just didn't know that we had available to us. So all in all, it's a year that's been really hard for the COVID situation, to the no fans, to playing in your own division, to getting off to a very poor start, to how well we're finishing and how well we're playing right now. So I think we're in a pretty good position, and I'm happy with the decision that we made to keep our players.
We're talking to Predators general manager David Poile. And David, you've watched a lot of games. You've watched every game that the Predators have ever played. Then you had a whole generation of watching seasons in Washington ebb and flow. I'm curious what a night like last night is like for you as you watch the game unfold for you, and simultaneously the team that you're fighting to get into the playoffs against, Dallas, is playing, and the way the scores were changing. Darren and I were talking about our experiences as that unfolded. What is that like for you? Is it the same as it was 20, 30, 40 years ago? Or have you learned to sort of just, condition yourself to not go crazy when that kind of thing, when it swings like that?
You should probably ask the people that are around me. I would like to tell you that as you grow older, it gets easier, and I'm not sure it does. That was again, every night is so different. I mean, I love my job, and it's really lucky that I've had the job all these years. But the swing of emotions is unbelievable. Last night was the case. I mean, you're just up, and after the second period, a great period, you're up 3-0. The Panthers are beating Dallas 4-2, and from like half hour later, we're tied 3-3, and the Panthers the Stars have fought back to tie the Panthers 4-4. So it's like you got to be kidding it. So like it could be a 4-point swing there, in basically in a half hour. So it's hard. I can't tell you it's easy. And I'm just very, very calm because there's emotions. I mean, we want emotions with our players, and I think I try to be as as even killed as possible. But I am alive, and I think you gotta, you gotta feel it and want it, and you're part of it. So you're cheering, you're got a few superstitions along the way, a lot of different things go into it. But just again, a wild game last night. Again, hopefully another learning lesson for our team that we can do better in the third period. But then we found a way to win. I mean, just you don't know how these things are going to play out exactly. Like I'm trying to take it as a positive that we won the game. I mean, Dallas was in the same situation. They lost the game. I mean, we beat Dallas in overtime. We beat Columbus in overtime, and Dallas lost 2 games in overtime. I mean, it could be the difference of making the playoffs or not. Just those 2 overtime goals. So, it was. I'm sure the blood pressure was a little high at some points there last night, but all good today. We're back here, and the coaches have got a little bit of a talk to the players, and we're getting set for the next game. So. And we don't know what that's going to bring, but hopefully at the end of the day it'll bring 2 points and get us that much closer to the playoffs.
It's kind of a fleeting thing. Every time a game goes to overtime, there's a little bit of, okay, you got a point. But as you know, David, different years, it's different things. But one thing I've noticed that this particular group, I don't think it's a fluke that they've won a lot of games in overtime. They really know the principles, right? When they get the puck, for example, last night, Columbus barely had the puck. And Columbus has been plenty of overtime games, but Nashville controlled the game in the 3-on-3, and eventually they scored. But don't you think there is a skill in doing well in the 3-on-3 and even in the shootout?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't think you did that well in it last year, but you're exactly right. Like, first of all, it starts with the face-offs, and we've been very good at winning the face-offs, and then we have a very good way of controlling the play, being patient, trying to get the other team sometimes tired so that we can make a line change, but they can't. And in any event, we've had different people at different nights to come up big for us, plus our goaltender on occasion. So it's been remarkable. And if you look at our record in overtime in the shootouts versus Dallas, I mean, you can certainly point to that as one of the reasons why if we're fortunate to make the playoffs that we did make the playoffs because of how good we've been in overtime. So it's a huge difference. I mean, winning that game last night, in overtime 4-3 versus if we would have lost the game, I can just tell your mindset, your preparation, your belief, it just goes a long way to giving you confidence that you can get the job done. And like we said in one of the questions earlier in the interview is that we're learning on the fly. It's a team that's a little bit in transition, and we've gone through some harder times and some poor play individually and as a team. And right now there's a lot of good things that are happening for us, both as a team and individuals. And last night was the same case. I mean, we easily in another day, another year might have lost that game to Columbus because of how the things were going in the third period. But at the end of the day, we won, and that's to me is what I want to take out of the game.
Last thing from me, David, you just got done talking about something that has really happened over the course of this season. Is some guys that I think if you were to ask the people that start listing top prospects, some of the names that have done really well for the Predators this year would not have appeared on those lists very high. Tanner Jeannot or Alex Carrier, but now they have proven that they belong in the league and they're going to be pieces for the team going forward. Let me ask you about one that's not really in the spotlight right now, but I know you guys are very happy with this progress. Tell us what you think of Philip Tomasino's progress, sort of behind the scenes here.
Well, I think it's been terrific. I guess that's one of the benefits of the COVID, unfortunately, for the junior leagues in Ontario specifically, where Phil was supposed to play. They didn't operate this year, so he was allowed to go to Milwaukee. So again, he's playing against older people, men if you will, and I think he's second or third leading scorer there in Milwaukee, and I think he's done a great job. As you know, we brought him up a couple of weeks ago with the possible intention of getting them into our lineup, but there was a combination of a few things, plus a little bit of a COVID outbreak in Chicago where he was playing, so we kind of had he didn't get into that opportunity or into the practices, but I think he's clearly a guy that we want to give a really good chance to next year. And again, you never know. I mean, in Milwaukee, I mean, in the AHL right now, their season's going to end. They have 5 more games. They're not going to play playoffs this year because of the COVID, and they'll get a chance to come up here to Nashville again for the 10th time. Hopefully, we make the playoffs, and then when he's here, then he's eligible to play for us. So, and again, I don't think that that's a stretch that we wouldn't possibly consider him playing a game for us if we needed to make a change in our lineup. So I think the future is bright for Phil and for us. I really want to see how he looks next year at training camp.
David, just to tell you how tough the sport is, you guys, everybody's playing 26 less games in the regular season, and because of last night's news about Colton Sissons, you will not have a player on this roster play 56 games this season. I mean, that 26 less games than a normal schedule, and in 56 games, you still couldn't get. I mean, that just tells you how tough it is.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and it's a real grind, more so than ever before, just because of all of the restrictions and protocols and what have you. So, take my hat off to all the teams and for this grind. I mean, we certainly could have thrown in the towel a long, long time ago, and it's been an uphill battle, but we're almost there. So, really appreciate the effort that everybody's put forward this year and the job that the coaches have done. It's for as bad as it was, it feels real good right now.
Thank you for the visit, as always. Go get them tomorrow night. Thanks for doing this.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right,
Bye-bye.
that is David Poyle, Predators General Manager, joins us every Tuesday at 11:15. We'll come back and touch on some things you just heard there. On the other side, Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
I mean, it has to be hard on Pekka not playing more games. We all thought that there would be more of an even balance this year, with the condensed schedule and a lot of back-to-back games, and it just hasn't worked out that way, especially with Juice getting so hot. But yeah, I think he's okay with it. But and again, I haven't had any conversations with him about the future or what have you. But again, I have to believe he would want to play. And again, I'm a guy that says that things change so fast in this business, you never know. I mean, if you look back, Juice got hurt earlier in the year, and Pekka played 8 or 9 games in a row, which was not contemplated either. So you just never know in this business. But not a great situation for Pekka, but he's been terrific around the team and very supportive of Juice, and he's certainly the most positive guy that we have on our team.
There you go, David Poile, just joining us on the program, talking about Pekka Rinne. Said he has not talked to him about his future, but I asked him, is that something you got to do right after the season concludes, whenever that is? And he said, absolutely. And they will have to figure that out, and there'll be a lot of layers to go through. And I don't know how long Pekka's going to need to want to talk about. Maybe it's an easy decision. Maybe it's not. I don't know. None of us know, but we can at least weigh in on what we think. I think it's 50-50. You've swayed the other way. You were 70-30. Now you're 30-70 that he comes back. I think it's truly 50-50.
Well, I think it's 70 he comes back, 30 he
70
retires.
comes back, right.
Yeah. And
you said coming into the season it was 30.
I would have gone the other way to start the season. I was interested, like everybody was, to hear David Poile's comments. You could tell he's choosing his words carefully here, because the thing that right now that he emphasized that I think is true is, like, it's uncertain, right? We all would like to think, well, maybe there's this game. Like, we're looking at the possibility of one scenario where this is it. He plays one last game and that's it. But the reality is, as David mentioned, is you can never count on what's around the corner, right? UC Saros got hurt with one play by Nito Niederreiter, and the next thing you know, Pekka Rinne starts the next whatever amount of games that was, 7 or 8, 9 games in a row. That could happen again, knock on wood. I mean, I hope it doesn't, but Pekka Rinne could be a very important person from now until the end of the season, whenever that is, if the wrong thing happens. So that's why you can't – it's hard to have the talks before the end of the season. The right play, really, is for both sides to wait till the season is over. And I would imagine that Pekka is going to be asked at some point if there's an opportunity. If he does play another game in the regular season, somebody will probably ask him, and he's probably going to say the same thing. We'll talk after the season. Well,
he's not going to get asked unless he has a start.
Gets a chance
he's made
to play.
available.
Yeah.
Right. So no one's going to have the opportunity to ask him that. And you bet it would be asked if he was made available. There's no doubt about it. Like, you can't get around it. And I'll tell you one thing that did jump out at me is David Poile. I mean, his comment was, it's been hard on Pekka. I mean, he certainly didn't paint the picture like, oh, this is no big deal. He kind of knew he was sliding into the backup role, and he's cool. He said it's been hard. Look, he's a competitor, and competitors, it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be an easy transition of, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll just sit over here and watch. Yeah. No, he's a fierce competitor. He's a guy that never wanted to come out of the net. He always wanted to play, and you just think that all of a sudden that switch has been dimmed, and he's okay. Like, yeah, I'm over here if you need me. Cool. Yeah, I know I haven't played in a month. That's cool. He said it's been really hard on him. I expect that it's been hard on him. I'm not surprised by that.
I'm sure it's been hard on him, but from all of the people that I've talked to, what they have all said is the same thing, that it was harder last year. Last year was really hard. This year has not been as hard because I think the roles were a little clearer defined going into the season.